Okay, good evening to everyone. Um, we are reading this week probably the one of the more popular and more famous portions of the Torah. And as we start our new cycle of connection through the Zohar, I just would like to mention that we will try to build up this course based on classes that we had in the past. And I know that there is only a couple of years recorded in New Kabbalah, but I believe that many of us are already studying for a while, and I will try to bring some aspects or some points from the portions that the Zohar is discussing that normally we don't address first, and maybe through that we can explore and we can reveal new dimensions in our study of the Zohar and of the wisdom of Kabbalah. We must say that the portion of Noach is, and in particular this week, is representing an energy force of transition. And transition usually for most people is not easy. You can basically look around and realize we're in a week of transition. Transition is not things that people like. And we don't like it in a physical way. We definitely don't like it in a spiritual way. And in a spiritual way, transition means that you're in unfamiliar territory. Transition means that you need to check, your ground again to make sure where you are. But even more so, the transition of this week is going to feel more like a shift, because we went through a very long process of the month of Virgo, even starting from the month of Leo to the month of Virgo, to the month of Libra. Very long time we didn't feel what the energy of a water sign is all about. And you want it or not, it's starting to come in. As we enter into the month of Scorpio, in which we already created and did the blessing of the new moon this past Shabbat, and we know that the new moon begins this coming Friday, the energy is starting to descend. And one of the things that we will feel, and you will see, that it would become more and more intense as we enter into the month of Scorpio. And intense is a word that should make us excited, because intense means that the capacity or the ability or our opportunity to tap into more, to experience more, to create breakthroughs, to receive messages, to have deep understandings, it will happen in the same time. The only thing is that we need to make sure that we are ready. It can be challenging for those who can't have the capacity to hold the energy. So we want to be able to build ourselves and to build our capacity so we can hold the energy of the month of Scorpio that is coming up. And the month of Scorpio always starts with a portion of Noach. So the portion of Noach that we are reading this week is the vaccination. It's the force that we need. It's the power that we need in order to be able to connect with all the good that intense, or whatever it means for you, can bring into our life. One of the things that the Rav is teaching us is that we connect in this week's parasha to the power of the unity of creation before fragmentation took place. What it means is that the portion of Noach discusses mainly water. If you want to know what's the 99% of the portion of Noach, is the essence of water. And we know that the essence of water is healing. The essence of water is mercy. The essence of water is the aspect of sharing, yet in this portion, the water was used as a tool for chaos, for destruction. So we have to see, and we have to figure out the path for us to bypass all the forms of chaos and negativity that might emanate for something as pure as water, just because of the power of fragmentation that descended into this world, with time, with emanation, with the process. So we want to figure out a way in which we can bypass the process, in which we can come to a place in which the chaos or the negative aspect cannot really control us. in particular in this intense time. So, in order for us to connect, I would like to start a reading for tonight in the portion of Noach in section 194. And it's a very, very interesting section of the Zohar and very beautiful one. He says here, Rabbi Chia patach ve'amar. And Rabbi Chia, one of the students of Rabbi Shimon, opened and said, אם יסתר איש במסתרים ואני לא אראנו נאום השם. And he's basically quoting a verse from the Torah that says that is it possible for a person to hide in secret pathways and I'm not going to see him? Is it possible for us to hide from the eyes or from the light force of God? Is it possible? כמה הם בני אדם אטומי לב וסתומי עין. The Zohar is saying how ignorant, how people's heart is shut down, how intense it is that people can't see. שאינם מסתכלים ואינם יודעים את כבוד ריבונם, that the real essence of this world is not revealed to them. Meaning basically what the Zohar is trying to tell us, guys, there is something here that you're not seeing. There is something here, there is like a shield. There is a guard that doesn't allow your heart to feel and your eyes to see and your brain to connect. הלא את השמיים ואת הארץ אני מלא. איך הם מבקשים בני אדם להסתתר מחטאם? And the Zohar is saying, what's wrong with you people? How could you possibly want to hide? Now, you and me didn't know until now that we want to hide, right? Some of us might know in certain moments we want to hide when we did something wrong, right? When we think we do something that, cannot be accepted by others, that we are in a place in which we had too much, right? We want to run away, we want to hide. The more Aquarius you are, the more you want to run away. And he says here, how is it possible that you think that it's possible to hide? We all have to look in and say, where is it that we are hiding? But the issue that the Zohar is bringing is, why do you think it's even possible? Does each and every one of us have some sort of a file of things that we know and we think that nobody else's know? Some things that we know about ourselves, some things that we do secretly, some things that we think secretly, that we think we're hiding. One of the most powerful things that one of the most powerful lessons that I ever received from Keren was in a lesson that Keren gave us on the very first verse when you wake up in the morning. And you say, Modeh ani lefanecha. I think we mentioned it not long ago, right? That the first thing that a person open up his eyes, you will see it in our connection book, you open up your eyes. You can't look at the watch. You can't, look at your BlackBerry. You don't get up from bed. There is a verse you say right away. And the verse says, Modeh ani lefanecha. I would like to stand here and to thank in front of you, God, Melech El Chai V'Kayam, Shechazarta bi nishmati, that you return my soul back to me with compassion and with mercy. And it will be up to me to connect with that light. And one of the things that Karen was saying is that from the very first moment in which we open our eyes, that most of us are not even conscious for a few minutes after we wake up, but from that very first moment we open our eyes, we need to know that we're in the presence of the light force of God. So even if you close the door behind, and you close the shades, and you shut off the cameras and the cell phones, you are never alone. I want to make you all paranoid. You are never alone. There is never a situation in which you are not in the presence of the light force of God. So whatever it is that we are hiding, or whatever it is we are waiting to do at home that nobody could see, or to say something or to think something, it's all, we need to remember that it's in the presence of the light force of God. בדומה למלך, and the Zohar is giving us an anecdote and basically sharing with us a story that the fact that we are trying to hide, and I'm not sure we're all clear about our hiding. We're going to explain it in a second. He says it's very similar to a king that built a castle, ועשה מתחת לקרקע הארמון מחבואים מבוצרים. And underneath the castle, he created, hideaway places. And they were all sheltered. לימים מרדו בני הארמון במלך. And came a time in which all the people of the kingdom rebel against the king. והקיף אותם המלך בחילותיו. And the king took his army and sieged that place. מה עשו? What did they do? באו והסתירו את עצמם בתוך המחילות המבוצרות. They all ran away to these hiding places underneath the castles. אמר המלך, and the king said, are you kidding me? I created these hiding places, ומלפני אתם רוצים להסתתר בהם, and you are going to use it to hide? וזה שכתוב אם יסתר איש במסתרים ואני לא אראנו נאום אדוני. And the Zohar is saying this is how ridiculous it is that you're trying to hide from the light force of God. Where exactly? Where is it that you're going to be? What is it that you are going to think that is not going to be revealed? It's kind of a scary thought. אני הוא שעשיתי המחילות המבוצרות. I have created those hideaway places. ועשיתי אור וחושך and created light and darkness. ואתם, איך תוכלו להסתתר מפניי? Show me one way that you can hide from me. Now, I must add that this, beyond the message, the intellectual message that is given to us here, this is a very important vaccination before the month of Scorpio. Because every Scorpion will tell you that there is nothing more important for him than his secret life. His power, his control is emanating from the fact that you don't really know everything about them. And one of the things that the Zohar is trying to teach us is that it's not about them. It's not about what you are willing to reveal. It's not about what you are willing to tell. It's about the concept of hiding. And this is the most important concept that we are dealing with in the week of the portion of Noach. Because it seems that what Noach did was to hide. Was to create a space in which he can protect himself. That he can be in a place that he is not part of this natural disaster that is taking place. Would you like to ask something? This is Rabbi Shimon. Yes. כשאדם חטא לפני ריבונו, and he says when a person commits a sin, creates a short circuit, הוא ממשיך ומביא את עצמו להיסתר, and he continues and bring himself to a place of hiding, דהיינו, שמביא את עצמו לחשוב שאין מי שיראנו, meaning that he brings himself to a place that he thinks that no one will see him, הקדוש ברוך הוא עושה בו הדין בגלוי. There is consequences to this, says the Zohar. There is consequences for hiding. Before we understand what the consequences are, we must figure out what does it mean to hide. How can you possibly hide? What's the hiding? And the hiding in this world, it's only one thing. That you are not willing to surrender to the light force of God. Hiding is not when you go home and you close the door. It's already the effect. The hiding is the situation in which you are not willing to face and to surrender to the light force of creation. And because you are not willing to surrender, then you hide. Then you pretend. Then you lie. then you look for creative solutions, right? So you won't have to face the issue. You will come to a place in which, hiding is to try to play safe. What do you mean to play safe? Play safe it's when you want to take the light force of creation and create like a very, very narrow hole in a funnel for it to drop slowly into your life. That's to play safe. Hiding is a situation in which you're manipulating. What's manipulation? Why do you want to manipulate a situation? Because you don't want to deal with the consequences of connecting to the light, of dealing with the actual situation. What happens to us when we don't deal with problems? What happens to you when you have a toothache and you don't go to the dentist? Does it go away? It becomes bigger. The issue becomes bigger. But for whatever reason, we do not take the toothache to our spiritual life. We prefer to hide. We prefer not to confess. We prefer not to admit. We prefer not to confront. So the Zohar is saying here, and let me repeat it again, when a person creates a short circuit, something is going wrong in your life. And instead of dealing with it, or confronting, or going to the dentist, or admitting, or saying, I lied, you bring yourself, says the Zohar, to a place in which you could think that you're not going to be seen. And you won't have to face it. And you don't really need to deal with it. And it's okay. And whatever, everybody does it. I don't know, whatever we tell ourselves. Says the Zohar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the DNA of this universe, Oseh bo adin begalui, the consequences of it, is that you will have to face and we deal with it in an exposed way. The judgment will be revealed in an exposed way and in a way that it's going to be public. וכשאדם מטהר את עצמו, and the Zohar is saying, but when a person purifies himself, דהיינו שעושה תשובה, that repents and changes, הקדוש ברוך הוא מבקש להסתיר אותו. There is an amazing thing that happens. The light creates a shield around you. So when you are looking to face, when you are looking to confront, when you're looking to admit, then the light force creates a shield around you that you are not going to be seen. Meaning you are going to be hidden by the light force. שלא יתראה ביום אף השם. כי ודאי הוא שהאדם צריך להסתיר את עצמו שלא יתראה לפני המשחית. And then the Zohar goes to, a second stage. Meaning, when you try to hide, there's one type of consequences. It's going to be chaotic. There's going to come a mess out of this hiding. You want to run away? You'll have to deal with it in another way. You want to manipulate? There's going to come chaos. Judgment is going to be revealed from whatever it is that you do. So when you choose to ignore your toothache, and you say, it's fine, it's nothing, I'll brush harder, whatever you decide to do, and it end up in a root canal or whatever, right? The same thing happens spiritually. When you choose not to confront, when you choose not to deal, there's going to be a root canal. And you're not going to be able to treat it on your own. It's going to be a public affair. And he says here, and the Zohar moves to the next stage, and the Zohar is saying, you need to know with certainty, כי ודאי הוא, שהאדם צריך להסתיר את עצמו שלא יתראה לפני המשחית כשהוא שורה בעולם, כדי שלא יסתכל בו, כי כל אלו שמתראים לפניו יש לו רשות להשחיתם. And the Zohar is saying, we cannot forget, and we need to know, that when there is a decree in this world, there is negativity, there is judgment in this world, there is nothing that we could do to be in the space of that negativity and be protected. So the Zohar is saying, you have to know that when you created already chaos, you will need protection. There will be consequences. Let me explain to you what it means. You lied, right? And you have two ways, the Zohar is saying. One way is to add more and more lies. It's to manipulate. It's to lie on top of the lie. It's to do whatever you can not to face it. Or say, I never said it. I never told you that. Right? You add another lie. The other option is to go back and says, listen, it's very hard for me to say it, but I lied to you. It was not the truth. Zohar is saying, option one, when you create a lie on top of a lie, one day it's going to come out. And the issue is not going to be between you and that person. The issue is going to come up completely in a different way. It's going to be your integrity. It's going to be about something you possibly think you never did. But you are going to be questioned about your integrity and about the ability of people to trust you. The second option, it's the option in which you confront and you say, listen, I'm sorry, but I lied to you. It's very hard for me to say it, but I'm going to change and I'm going to repent. What the Zohar is saying at that moment, the universe creates for you hiding. And when you come from the right place, nothing is going to happen. You're protected. But the Zohar adds and say, the negative act was done. It was already created. You're not going to be comfortable. It's either you're not going to be comfortable by saying I did it, or you're not going to be comfortable because your integrity is going to be questioned on something you never ever did. But the protection or the seal of the perfection of your being disappears, is no longer there. Hu she'amar Rabbi Shimon, and here there is a very interesting quote from Rabbi Shimon. Kol adam she'eino ra'a, every person who has evil eye, ein mashchit shora alav, the eye of the angel of destruction is watching him all the time. This is a revolution. Because we are all running around being afraid from evil eye. What the Zohar is telling us, you don't have to be afraid of evil eye. Whoever is doing evil eye has to be afraid. It's the person that is generating evil eye that is in trouble. It's not you. And why is that? And the Zohar explained it to us before. Of course, you need to be careful from people that are negative and have evil eye. But the fact that they have evil eye is a lot more of an issue for them than for you. So the negativity that we created, this is what the Zohar is trying to teach us. We cannot hide. We cannot protect ourselves from the negativity that we create or from the negativity that we generate. And he says, "V'tzarich ha'adam lishemer mimeno," and we need to be, protecting ourselves from this negative person. V'asur likrav elav begalui, and to try not to, get close to this person in an exposed way to his negative, energy. ומשום זה אם האדם רע עין צריכים להישמר ממנו, מפני מלאך המוות על אחת כמה וכמה, וצריכים להיסתר ביום אף אדוני. And the Zohar is saying that if you need to be careful from another individual, even more so from cosmic negative energy. What's cosmic negative energy? Earthquake, any kind of natural disaster, tsunamis, wars, anything that is happening, in a way that is uncontrollable. מה כתוב בבלעם? ונאום הגבר סתום העין, שהיה לו עין רע. The Zohar is bringing the example of Bilam that had evil eye. And every place, בכל מקום שהיה מסתכל בו, every place that he would look, something bad would have happened. Right? Sometimes I think it happens to all of us. We walk and a chair falls and we stumble over and we say, oh my God, this person is so sweet, boom, they fall, right? So there is all sorts of things that happen, but it says about Bilam that every place he would look, something negative would happen. ומשום זה היה רוצה להסתכל בישראל, and that's the reason why Balak called upon Bilam to come and look at the nation of Israel, that every place he would look, there will be destruction there. Now, we're going to skip a few sections here. And we go to section 200. And he says, ועל כן ביקש הקדוש ברוך הוא, I'm going to explain it all in a second. ועל כן ביקש הקדוש ברוך הוא לחפות על נוח ולהסתירו מעין רואה. And because of all the things that we were saying now, there was an agenda to the light force of God to create protection and to seal and to conceal from every eye Noach in his ark. שלא יוכל רוח התמד, the negativity that was controlling at that time, לא יבוא עליו, is not going to come and govern him. ויבוא נוח מפני שמי המבול, to protect him from the water of the flood. כי המים דחקו אותו על התיבה, and it says that the water started to wage and pushed Noach into the ark. He didn't really want to go into the ark. The water kind of pushed him in. כי ראה את מי המבול, he started to see the water coming, it's like a Hollywood movie, הוא פחד מהם, and started to fear them. ועל כן בא אל התיבה, and that's why he came into the ark. Meaning until the time that Noach saw the water, he was not even convinced he's going to enter into the ark. You'll understand in a moment why it's so important. וראה את מלאך המוות שהיה בא, and he saw the angel of death that was coming with it. Right? He could see the waves of water coming and how deadly they were. ועל כן נכנס אל התיבה, and that's the reason why he went into the ark. This is a huge discussion in this portion. Huge. Extremely important. And I know that you don't understand in this moment what I'm talking about. But you will have to remember this section. That until the moment that Noach actually saw the water coming and saw the deadly power of this water, he would not enter into the ark. He refused to go in. Now the question that we should have in our mind is that did he refuse to go in because he was praying that it should change? Or he refused to come in because he didn't believe it's possible? And we must now take it to different times in history in which we thought, you know what? Cannot be. It's not going to happen. In which individual on the verge of bankruptcy said, it's not going to happen to me. Until they did not see the water and the angel of death coming with them, they would not believe. ונשמר בה בתיבה, and Noach was kept in that ark, י"ב חודשי השנה, for 12 months. For 12 months. ושואל למה הם י"ב חודשים? ושואל למה הם י"ב, why 12 months? חולקים בה רבי יצחק ורבי יהודה, and there were two sages that kind of were dealing, and each one said a different aspect. And אחד אומר, one of them said, that 12 months is the time of the evil of the Reshaim begenom, the evil people in Gehenom. Meaning that it takes a cycle of a year to remove judgment. ואחד אומר, and the other sage saying, כדי להשלים בי"ב מדרגות את נוח הצדיק. That they needed 12 months in order to complete, in order to help Noach achieve his higher level of consciousness. And that's the reason why they had to wait 12 months. Now we need to try and understand what the Zohar is teaching us here. You know, the story of Noach is an insane story. I hope everybody realizes how crazy this story is. It's nice. Many children's books were written on it. We understand, finally, one portion of the Torah, we can understand the whole thing, so we're really excited. But I don't know how much we understand it. It's an insane story. In the middle, of Noach's ordinary life, he has a revelation. And in this revelation, God comes to Noach and says, listen, the people here are corrupt. There's going to come a destruction. It's not going to end good. Go today to the internet and find those people who tell you that 2012 is going to be destruction. It's the end of the world. As a matter of fact, there are many prophets that will tell you that next week there's going to be a destruction as well. So here comes Noach, like those people we hear once in a while on the internet and the scary letters they send us. And he comes and he says, I must build an ark. We're speaking about thousands of years ago. And there is measurements in this portion for the ark. It's 5 floors high. Right? It's about, let's say, 50 feet high. Its width is 80 feet. And its length is about 500 feet. It's like a carrier of missiles in the middle of the ocean. Right? How do you call it? This aircraft carrier? How do you call it? Huge! Huge! And Noach is to sit and build this ark. Because there is a destruction coming. And, and there's going to be a flood. And it's not that he's going to build it for himself. He's going to take pairs of animals, of every type of animal that exists on earth. He's going to take them 2 of each and bring them into the ark. So it's not anymore a craft carrier. Now it's a floating zoo. Gigantic floating zoo, right? And the top floor is going to be for Noach and his family. But the rest of the place is going to be for the animals, and he needs to build for them small, cubicles. They shouldn't be all together. And he's to load this ark with food that can last them for a whole year. We're speaking about the ancient world. You realize how insane this story is that we just kind of like reading? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's imagine one of us today, modern technology will come and say, listen, there is a destruction coming, there's a tsunami going to come to Los Angeles, let's build an ark. Immediately to a mental institution. But what we read in this portion is about a process that Noach went through 120 years. He's building this ark for 120 years. He goes back and forth for the people and tell them, listen, there is a destruction coming. And they ridicule him. And they make fun of him. And he says, no, I'm building this ark. And he sits in this ark for a year with the animals, with food that who knows how it lasted them for a whole year, right? Right? I don't want to even start even asking questions about it because we're never going to end this. But I want to ask you, why do we, intelligent, grown people, need to read this crazy story today? Why would the Torah bother to tell us this story? Why it's essential for this week? And the most important message that we receive from the Zohar this week is that in our life, we need to start and become a little bit insane. The message of this weekly parasha is that the only way for me to know that I'm connected to the light is that I start to be a little bit like Noach. What does it mean to be like Noach? Does it mean that tomorrow, we need to build an ark? The most amazing thing that we learn, and the Rav is teaching it, I believe, in every book that the Rav ever wrote. The Rav says that the domain of Satan is logic. Everything that we are doing in our life is logic. Should I take a morning flight or a night flight? You know what? It makes a lot more sense to take the red eye, because it saves me another day. Does it make sense to me to go to park on the left side or the right side? The right side because it's closer. Everything that we are doing in our life is connected to our logic, to whatever it is that is making sense. If you notice, anything that has to do with our connection to the light is completely not making sense. Completely. And no matter how many explanations we have, at a certain point, I'm sure you stood in Rosh Hashanah and said, this is crazy. It's crazy. Can't believe I'm doing this. At some point, walking in circles in Simchat Torah, you had to stop and say, crazy. And we can go on and on. It could be, giving charity when you don't have. Where is the sense? Tell me, how does it make sense that if you don't have abundance and sustenance, you should give even more charity? Try to say it in the street. Anything, and I could give you endless examples, from mikveh to Ana Bekoach to scanning the Zohar. What's logical about scanning the Zohar? What's logical about it? If it did not speak to your soul, it will never speak to your mind. It first spoke to your soul, and then we found the reason. But all of us felt the spark, felt the light, and then we dug and looked for the logic. So today we can explain to ourselves that scanning, it's like the eye and the super rugged and the words and the bypass the brain. We have it all together. But the reason why we scan has nothing to do with the explanation that we have. The reason why we scan is because we feel the light. And it absolutely doesn't make sense. You know how we know? Because every one of us was told by his family and friends that he's a little bit insane. But what can we do with the fact that we feel the light? We look in our life, and we've mentioned it in the past, and I know that I encourage my students in every opportunity to meditate. If it's in third meal, it's when you're doing a spiritual action, when you share, when you give, when you're in a place if you want to accomplish a change in your life, always to meditate, to connect with the illogical and the unexpected. Because what we are looking for in our life is for it not to make sense. Because when push comes to shove, or when we have time of trouble, if it will make sense, then we are messed up. If the solution for my issue and my problem needs to make sense, then don't apply. Then don't believe you're still going to find your soulmate. Then don't believe that you still can be happy. Because it didn't happen already for 60 years. Why should it happen now? You have so much evidence to show it's not going to work. But when we meditate on the illogical and the unexpected, we must be willing and understanding that we need to behave in the same way as well. Rav is explaining that with the reading of the parasha of the Torah, not only Noach, but every parasha, we are able to pay cosmic debts that we have from previous lifetimes, things we never did. So when we connect with the energy, when we connect with the wisdom, we can pay debts of our soul, meaning accomplish corrections that by the wisdom that we download, we can skip the process of needing to go through the actual process of correction. And you know, I don't believe we ever ask the question, but why do we read the portion on Shabbat? Do we ever ask this question? Why on Shabbat? Why not Tuesday? Why are you coming here Monday night already? Why don't we take the scroll out and read the Torah? Right? Every night we're going to take the scroll out. It will be more convenient. More people could come and connect. No. We read the Torah only on Shabbat. Because there is one quality to Shabbat that doesn't exist in any other day. There's no bread of shame on Shabbat. On Shabbat, there is no problem to receive with no limitations. Unlimited. As much as you want. This is the day which we hit the level of Malchut, the perfected Malchut. And the reason why we do all the studying before Shabbat is only so we could realize how much we can get for free on Shabbat. No bread of shame. So one of the things that we need to realize is that all the studying and all the understanding is to reach to a place that we can capture a lesson for our life that can allow us to hop above an obstacle. Not to have to go through it, not to have to suffer through it, but to hop above it, to jump over. In a very simple way, what the Zohar is trying to tell us here is that if we want to receive blessings in our life, we have to start to do things that are insane, illogical, and unexpected. Now, does that mean that we should all run outside and climb on the roof? Because it's going to be insane. It's illogical. And I'm sure you're not expecting it, right? Should we do that? We need to understand that the reading of the ark in this weekly portion does not discuss physical structure. The Zohar explains it's the actual structure of the sefiroth, of the emanations, from Keter to Malchut. The little cubicles in the ark itself is the segregation of corrections, of lifetimes, of levels of elevation. And the reason why Noach was building the ark is not to provide protection for himself. It was to manifest in a physical sense that force of the emanations that could and did provide protection for the whole world. The purpose of the flood was to destroy the world. The world was not destroyed. The world was not destroyed. So if you hear the teachers of the center, and as Yuda Berg was saying, Karen was saying it, you know, when we come to 2012, and everybody predicts destruction, and we all going to sit in fear and think, oh my God, the flood is coming again. There is a force that this portion is giving us. And it's the ability to open up ourselves to realize that the stock market and the investments and the storages and the planning ahead and all the logical things we do is not what's going to give us protection. What's going to give us protection is building an ark. What's going to give us protection is walking in circles, is going to the mikveh. If we are not able to expand ourselves to think And you need to know there is one character to the light. When anyone here wants to describe what the light is, can you? We can't. The only thing that we could tell about the light, it's that it's illogical and unexpected. So if you want to tap into light in your life, this is the week to look into your life and say, how much of my life is logical and predicted, and how much of my life is illogical and unpredicted? How much of what I create space for, of the things that I'm doing, of the sharing acts that I do, in the people that I choose to spend my life with, at what I think of when I wake up in the morning, how much of it is really insane? But not insane in a crazy way of mental institution, insane in terms of the building of the ark, like the structure of the emanations. How much of what I do is where a place that I surrender to another consciousness that is illogical, that does not make sense, yet it ignites the spark within me. Try to explain why you scan. Explain it to yourself again and again and again and again. It's the logic that is going to make you open the Zohar? Are you saying it doesn't make sense I didn't scan today? Do you say that? Or there is something, another force that makes you do it? Do you give charity because you say, listen, it doesn't make sense I didn't give charity a whole month? Or you feel something. You feel like you should. And it doesn't make sense. It's against all logic because you did it yesterday also. But there is another force that is being awakened. So the one most important thing, and you need to know that the importance of reading it this week, is not only that it's important for the whole year, but in particular before the month of Scorpio. And for those of us that are Scorpios, even more so. Because Scorpio is a fixed sign. Fixed sign means that they don't like to change. They don't like changes. They like things to be the way they are because that's the way they control them. But in the same time, Scorpios have the ability to dare, like no other sign. To dare, not to be afraid. To be able to do the illogical and the unexpected. So the force of the portion of Noach is to allow us to come from that fixated state of not wanting to move, of being, stuck in one place, of being angry because that's what it leads to. You get angry when you're stuck. You get angry when you don't feel the light. And to be able to open up, to float with the force of the light. The second important point that I would like to bring, let's see how much time we have, okay, is in section 13. And it's really a very interesting Zohar here, a very short one. And I just want to add one more thing before we go forward. Part of what we read in the Zohar, and I urge and suggest you go back and read it again, is that there was a duality with that ark. Because we really never know. We really never know. What is it that we could do that eventually will protect us? When we calculate our actions, when we say this is the right thing for me to do, this investment is the right investment, this choice is the right choice, do you know what eventually will be the right action to protect you? So when push comes to shove, you see that Noach went and built an ark for 120 years and never believed or understood or comprehend why he's doing that. Am I crazy? Have you ever been in a situation which you look at yourself and say, am I crazy? Why am I doing this? Why I keep on going there? Why I keep on doing that? Noach was in a similar situation. Why am I doing this for happen. Until he didn't see the water coming, he didn't believe he was in his right mind. This is the extent of the place of where we need to come to. And that's what the Zohar is saying. On one hand, it's the correction of the world. It's what needed to happen in a global, universal level, but there was also a personal tikkun. It's my place in that reality. That the stock market crashes, and there is a plague of whatever nature, and there is a whooping cough epidemic. And what do I do in that moment? What do I do in that moment? There is a movie that belongs on a universal level, but there is also a personal reason. And that's what Noach brought out. To push himself to a place that even if he does not believe in it, even if he doesn't see it, he felt the light, and it was far more important than his logic on what made sense to him. And to the very last moment, he couldn't see why it was there. So we are going to section 13 in this portion. And it refers to the fact that the portion starts with a verse that says, Ele toldot Noach. These are the chronicles of Noach. Noach ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav. Noach was a righteous man in his generations. There is an issue with this verse that lots and lots of commentators refer to, because it says, and just listen to the verse, Ele toldot Noach. Noach ish. The word Noach appears twice. These are the chronicles of Noach. Noach was a righteous man. Why can't you say, these are the chronicles of Noach that was a righteous man? Why do you need to mention the word Noach twice? Says the Zohar, Shoel, asking, Lama katuv bet pamim Noach? Why does it written twice, the word Noach? V'omer, Ela kol tzadik v'tzadik. The Zohar is saying you should know each and every righteous man in this world, yesh lo bet ruchot, has two souls. Every righteous man has two souls. Echad hu ba'olam hazeh, one is in this world, ve'echad hu ba'olam haba, and one belongs to the next world. One in the 99 right percent and one in the 1%. וכן תמצא בכל הצדיקים שקראם הקדוש ברוך הוא, and that's how you could see in many different aspects of portions of the Torah that are called Moshe, Moshe, Yaakov, Yaakov, Avraham, Avraham. Right? In the same verse, the name of that righteous person is mentioned twice. There is explaining, Rabbi Zakluria, in the gates of reincarnation, and this is something that is important for us to know. I'm not even sure that we are teaching this in the reincarnation course, but there is explaining that each and every person has two souls, and he's calling it neshama pnimit, the internal soul, ונשמה מקיפה, and the surrounding soul. It's two different types of souls. At the time that we behave in a negative manner, create short circuits in whatever ways, all forms of negativity, the internal soul slowly goes down. And the way that there is describing it is that it's being, it's almost like being pulled by gravitation into the world of klipot. It's slowly being enveloped completely by the dark force of the klipa, of negativity, and comes to a place in which sometimes it completely disappears. When that soul disappears, the surrounding soul then descends into the body and helps the person to redeem back his soul, to survive. Now, it could be completely esoteric, but you know those situations in life in which you feel complete despair? Complete despair. No hope, no chance, no way out. You don't know what's next. completely enveloped with darkness. You're in a situation in which there was, you're in the midst of a mass destruction, God forbid. Destruction, or whatever way, right? Physically, natural disaster, whatever it may be, you don't even know how it's going to, what's going to happen. And there is a spark of light that suddenly, right out of nowhere, there is hope. There is like a light that comes in. It's this surrounding soul that comes in, descends in, and lifts and allow the soul to be lifted from those klipot, right? So it can rejuvenate itself. Sometimes when a person dies, it's a situation in which his soul is completely enveloped with the klipot and the surrounding soul can no longer redeem him. But what the Zohar is telling us here is that with the righteous, the soul never really gets to a place in which it falls down into the klipot. With the righteous people, these two souls, these two aspects of soul, are completely one, intact, complete for their entire life. Now, you will see when you read this portion that it's full with dualities. Anything about the portion of Noach, anything about the month of Cheshvan, the month of Scorpio, is with duality. First of all, the name of the month, right? Mar Cheshvan. Mar means bitter, but if you change the letters around, is Ram, is elevated. If you read the book of formation, it says that all forms of destruction, fire and strangling and death and whatever you want is with the sign of Scorpio. And then the last three words is in all the secret of Mashiach, of the Messiah, is with Scorpio. Right? You look at the portion of Noach. It's the unified force of the water, which is right color mercy, yet the water was used to create destruction. Noach is comfortable. Right? The actual name Noach means comfortable, but if you change the letter, is Chen, which is the secrets of the Torah, which is Kabbalah and spirituality and all about restriction. If you look at this portion, you will see, and there is a section in this portion that it speaks about the fact that there is all the organs of the body that come in pairs, right? 2 ears, 2 eyes. The right side belongs to mercy. The left side connects to judgment. So, it's in this parasha, there is, the animals that came into the ark, there were 2. We can go on and on and on and on. It's all about the duality. It's all about one reality, 2 aspects. What do you want to connect with? Half glass empty or half glass full? What do you want to connect with? In the same reality, your choice. Now, we are really short of time, but I really have to read this. It's a section, the section is 180. And I thought we were going to read the whole thing, but there's no chance. But basically he says here, come and see. Ma ben Moshe l'shar bnei olam. What was so special about Moses than the rest of the people in the world don't have? בשעה שאמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה, and he says the Zohar, when God came to Moses and he told him, I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to take you. You're going to survive. Those people, the nation of Israel, are terrible. Let's just get rid of them. I'm going to take you and create from you an amazing nation. מיד אמר משה, immediately Moses answered, וכי בשביל טובתי אעזוב דינם של ישראל? Are you kidding me? You think for my own benefit and for my own survival, I'm going to leave the nation of Israel in their judgment, ולא אבקש רחמים עליהם, and I'm not going to ask for mercy for them. עתה יאמרו כל בני העולם, there was going to be one lesson for the people of the world, שאני הרגתי לישראל כמו שעשה נוח, that I killed the nation of Israel like נוח did. Oops. מכיוון שאמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא שיציל אותו בתיבה, because Noach had that revelation, and he heard that he's going to be saved by the ark, And he came, ובאת אל התיבה, and came into the ark, כיוון שאמר לו שיתנצלו בניו, and because he heard that him and his sons are going to be saved, he didn't ask mercy for the world. What did Noach do? He ran out and he said, guys, there's going to be destruction. You better change. You better change yourself. But Noach was not in a position that he said, please, God, forgive them. They don't mean it. He's a good person. You know, if somebody comes to you to complain about your neighbor, and you tell him, you know why don't you go and tell him? And you think so righteous. Right? Don't want to speak behind anyone's back. Go to him and, confront him. But there is another way to do it, and to say, you know what? Look at the good things he's doing. Look at all the good that person created. Look at all the beautiful things and the good reasons why he's doing that. ומשום זה נקראים מי המבול על שמו. And he says the water of the flood are called the water of Noach. Because in a way he didn't do what he was supposed to do in order to stop it. אמר משה, and here it continues and says that Moshe continuously asked for mercy for the nation of Israel, and he was able to awaken that mercy. And the Zohar continues on and says here, and I'm sorry that I need to skip because we're running out of time, but he says, מי שמרצה לחברו בעד אדם שחטא לו, אינו צריך לעשות אותו החטא גדול, אלא שימעט החטא לפניו. And the Zohar is saying, when somebody created a negative act, let's say one person insulted another, and you come to me and you say, you know what, this one did that. Zohar is saying, when you hear the story, bless you, you have to tell the person, listen, he didn't mean, it's not so bad, you should forgive them, it's okay. But then, you should go to the person who did it and say to him, how could you do such a thing? The Zohar is almost educating us to be completely hypocritical, right? Yeah? Completely. ולא הניח לקדוש ברוך הוא, and he says here that that's exactly what Moshe did. Moshe told the universe, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to let this destruction take place. And then he went to the nation of Israel and said to them, you should change and change now, because otherwise you're going to be destroyed. But the Zohar is saying, ולא הניח, but he did not stop. He did not stop to effect this change until he would not leave God alone, says the Zohar, until he would relieve and would change the consequences and will change the destiny of the nation of Israel. And I just would like to jump here to section 189. He says, מה היה לו לנוח לעשות? What Noach should have done? שהרי ראשי העולם היו מכעיסים, because he looked around and the people were evil and wicked of this generation. And he was a righteous man. And he understood that if destruction is going to take place, it's going to take him with them as well. אלא ודאי נוח היה מפחד על עצמו. But the Zohar is saying Noach was afraid for himself. Was afraid of what? Was afraid of what? And there is a huge lesson for us in it. Because the Zohar is teaching us here that there are two types of people, and there are actually two types of righteous people. There is a righteous person that is concerned about his connection with the light. And there is a person, or a righteous person, that his concern is his connection with people. And you will see when you read this Zohar, is that both ways and both connections will reveal light for us. The concern that Noach had was about not wanting to let down his spiritual work, not to be affected by the evil people. He didn't have that confidence that he said, listen, I'm going to go and I'm going to be there with them and I'm going to teach them and I'm going to be part of them. He was not confident to say, I'm not going to be affected. He believed that his worship of God, that listening to the message, that building of the ark, of doing his spiritual work, of being a role model, would awaken the people. Moses' approach was totally different. Moses' approach was, I don't care about God. I'm here with the people. And we can see it in our spiritual life as well. There are some of us that needs a prayer book and need silence and need meditation and want to be in a place of doing that. And there are some of us who wake up in the morning and instead of meditating, they want to be with the people. Who needs my help? Who can I serve? What can I do first? And one of the qualities and one of the gifts that we can receive this week, is to find where we are in this reality, to find out what's dominant about our connection with the light, to find out where is it that I see the revelation takes place for me in a spiritual sense. Is it more for me that I can fulfill my connection to the light through my connection to people, through giving to people, through being with people, through feeling people? Or is it in my own spiritual way? By meditating, by sharing, by wanting to develop my, abilities to see and to connect with angels and to be in the right place in the right time? Or is it important for me when I come to Shabbat to listen to the Torah and say, shh, shh, shh? Or it's more important for me on Shabbat to come and say, who's new here and needs help, and I should explain to them what's happening here? And both are valid, as long as there is human dignity. Both are valid. But if we can create some sort of a balance, it's amazing to see that this portion, which is the portion of Noach, comes to teach us about who? Moshe. Not about Noach. It comes to teach us about Moshe. Be with the people. Feel the people. Because when you feel the people, you not only create redemption for yourself, you can create redemption for others as well. Thank you.